And there we go. Welcome to an impromptu edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. And in case you've been living under a rock or you don't have your phone handy like I didn't, like I had to get a notification on my watch as I'm washing dishes, the Cleveland Cavaliers have finally done it, ladies and gentlemen. As has been tweeted out by ESPN Shams Charania, Cleveland, Denver, and the Clippers have agreed on a trade sending Peyton Watson to the Cavaliers, Max Strus to LA, where he goes with Darius Garland, another former Cav, and an unprotected 2031 Cavs first round pick and a 2032 Kings second rounder to the Nuggets. Watson, and here's a key point right here. Watson will sign a new 4-year, $88 million deal to join the Cavaliers, plus a player option and a trade kicker. Don't ever talk down on Kobe Altman again. Listen, all I know is that what we had been hearing up to this point was that Jalen Tyson, Max Strus, prior to Dennis's trade, all of these names were being mentioned as possible departures to bring in a athletic wing that finally fits the mold of what Cleveland wants. And I've been going back and forth with people all day about Jalen Tyson not being the one moved. So to those people, suck it. I want to say thank you to Max Strus, first off, because Max Strus was a consummate professional, somebody who honestly, I think brought a lot to the table in terms of the business side of on the court, just being about his business. You can say what you want about Max and his flame out, right, against the Indiana Pacers. You can talk about Max's inability to stay on the court at times due to the injuries, ill-fated, might I add. But one thing I cannot question about Max Strus is his willingness to want to win basketball games. This is as professional a ball player as you will ever get, and LA is getting a good one. He just didn't necessarily, in terms of the current roster construction, not somebody that I think was going to be a long-standing member of this roster moving forward. He was the most enticing asset outside of Jarrett Allen that the Cavaliers were probably willing to dangle out there. And there's a reason why his name was being floated, just because the Cavaliers, they clearly still believe in the developmental timeline of Jalen Tyson. They have now a newfound talent in Malik Thomas, who apparently they believe they found him when they got one. They got one of them once. I think that was the quote. But at the end of the day, Peyton Watson, the size, the athleticism, the defensive versatility, the off-ball shot making, that right there, my friends, was just too much to pass up on. Like, I understand the qualms in reference to the gamble that the Cavaliers are taking, because let's be clear, this is still a gamble. I pointed this out in a video earlier on, but much of his production is based on a run in January, a 15-game stretch in which he averaged 21.9 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3 assists. But this dude shot 46.2% from three-point distance and 49% from the floor overall in those 15 games. And it wasn't like he didn't have good stretches to open this season prior to that. In the month of December that preceded that, he averaged 12.8 points, 4 boards, and shot 50.5% from the field, including 35.1% from deep. In the month prior to that, November, in which he started 9 games, he averaged 11.1 points, 5.5 rebounds, and still shot essentially 50% from the floor and around 38.3% from three-point distance. So he had a couple of key stretches last year that bolstered his chances of securing a payday heading into this year. And that's exactly what's happened. Despite appearing in just 54 games during the 2025-26 season, Peyton Watson is looking like an upside play. But this is one of those upside plays that you have to take the gamble on. At roughly 6'6.75" without shoes, 6'8" in them on the court. As we all know, they play in shoes. He fits everything that the Cavaliers needed at the starting 3 position. I love it. Again, respect to Max Strus, credit to everything that he has brought to the table since he has been a Cleveland Cavalier. And you guys I'll probably put together a nice little going away highlight reel for Max. I've already got a couple of those on the channel in reference to his seasons in Cleveland. To anybody that may not be a Cavs fan, maybe you're a LA fan watching the stream, check out some of the highlights that I put up on Max because you're getting a pretty solid player. He's coming off a 2025-26 season in which he averaged 11.2 points in 12 games. It was a shortened season for him due to the injury, but he did come back and he shot 40.2% from three-point distance, 44.3% from the field overall. He leaves Cleveland having scored, if I am not mistaken, a grand total of 1,458 points. He is a 36.8 shooter from three-point distance, while with Cleveland knocking out 314 triples in 3 seasons with the Cavs. In the play, listen, he may not have been this huge foundational piece, but he was key at different aspects, different points throughout his tenure here. His defense on Cade Cunningham in the Detroit series stands out like a sore thumb to me, forcing some of those turnovers out there, just playing with hustle. It is very, very, very impactful. And I think that LA is going to get a very solid player in the likes of Max Strus. So credit to him. Really happy for him to be reunited with Darius Garland over there in LA. But I'll say this, right? Peyton Watson, we finally got the wing. We finally got the athletic ability. We finally got the defensive versatility that we have been hoping for and praying for throughout this entire offseason. Again, Kobe Altman was able to accomplish this without dealing any of the young talents. That is awesome. I'm sorry. I don't care how you slice it. He turned Max Strus, going into his age 30 season, into a 23-year-old Peyton Watson, a player that graded very, very highly in terms of defensive versatility. He was in the 97th percentile in that category, out in isolation, where I absolutely love it. He was in the 97th percentile there, ranking 18th out of 582 qualifying players in that category. He is somebody that will reject your shot, one of those rare forward wings out there that will not only be a threat in the passing lanes, but be somebody who can absolutely reject your shot. He may be not necessarily a finished product in terms of team defense out there. I would like to see him improve in that regard. But this is a man who averaged essentially a steal and a block in 54 games. That's pretty damn awesome, while shooting essentially 47% on catch and shoot triples on the season. This dude is an absolute flamethrower of the highest accord, but again, has to be put into perspective and context that it is a small sample size, just 54 games. Yes, he has other NBA experience prior to this season. He played in 68 games, and the season prior, he played in 80 in 2023-24, but this season was the real season in which he finally got the opportunity to start the bulk of the games. 40 starts on the season, 29.6 minutes per game. Something that the Denver Nuggets probably did not want to lose, somebody that the Denver Nuggets did not want to lose in unrestricted free agency had he signed the qualifying offer that was extended to him. And I'm sure this is not the resolution that they had hoped to end with, but at least they didn't necessarily lose him for nothing. And we know what Denver's tax situation is. We know what the salary tax implications of this really effed up CBA are right now, and teams are towing the line. I was actually writing a video script up about the New York Knicks and their ability to repeat. And in saying that, doing the research for it, it is astounding how many teams have been forced to navigate that and traverse that. And I'm going to just run down the line real quick. The Warriors, I want to say back during the 2022 finals, after that season, they had to part ways with Jordan Poole and pay Draymond Green. The Nuggets had to shed pieces in that of Bruce Brown and KCP. The Celtics, as we know, after their title run, just a year after that, had to get rid of KP and Drew Holiday. The Thunder, the latest team to have to go through this, they had to part with Lou Dort, Isaiah Joe, and Aaron Wiggins. And even most recently, the New York Knicks, they did not want to go into the second apron, so they let Mitchell Robinson walk. And signed Andre Drummond, right? And so this is yet another implication of that, them not having the ability to retain the in-house talent, not being able to give Peyton Watson the salary that he so desired, wanting that Christian Brown level money. And granted, he did not get that, but to me, he still got himself a pretty damn good deal. Again, I'll throw the graphic up one more time. He ended up getting a 4-year, $88 million deal to join the Cavaliers, which rounds out to roughly $22 million a season and the player option along with the trade kicker. So if the Cavaliers eventually have to move him, he'll get paid even more. So, I mean, he made out pretty well. Maybe not Brown level money, maybe not 25 million plus a season, but I think this is a good compromise for Peyton Watson in terms of coming to a team that he should fit very, very nicely on. I'm excited to see the fit. Again, anybody expecting him to come here and just metamorphosize into this all-star level talent, to be honest with you guys, I'm not seeing that. I don't think that is what occurs. But what I do think they're getting is a really, really athletic 3-and-D wing out there. And that's something we have been screaming for the longest time. And you didn't have to sacrifice the young talent to get that accomplished. You kept Jalen Tyson, again, the man that I had been going to bat for all day in reference to some of these idiots out here that wanted to see him be moved. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it, right? So I got to be the person to come up here and do that because I feel like people are misinterpreting what it means to have depth these days. It's almost more important than star power. Depth and cohesiveness and fit can take a team a long way. They truly, truly have made themselves a better team this offseason by getting the likes of Peyton Watson. So let's recap this offseason, right? You brought in Malik Thomas via the draft. You got Ernest Uday Jr. on the 2A. That is a good draft and a good summer league showing from those two. You brought in Mario Hezonja, the Spanish League MVP. And to me, that's a gamble. That's a flyer. That's a risk, but that could potentially pay off. That is something that I think might very well end up making not only the Cavaliers look very wise in terms of taking the shot on him, but it might end up making Hezonja a lot of money after this upcoming season. Taking that gamble. That's a good small flyer type of dart throw that they could have done. So kudos to them for that. They ended up re-signing and bringing back some of the in-house talents. They got Donovan Mitchell on the dotted line pretty much a year sooner than what he could have signed for, making him potentially sign for more money down the line. But again, he took a pay cut, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for another day. To me, this is a good offseason, right? Entering this one, it felt like they were doomed to have a complete disaster and failure after all of the names that they missed out on. No Giannis. If you wanted Giannis, he was off the board. No Jaylen Brown. No Trey Murphy, if you are a fan of him. No Herb Jones. I know people still want those guys. No Kyrie Irving. He keeps being mentioned for some reason in these Bleacher Report trades. I'm tired of seeing all this stuff, right? You got the 3-and-D wing of the future. You got the player that you finally wanted to get. Before I move anymore, I just want to say thank you to player one, JBS, who says, this is great for short and potentially long-term. Thanks for the $2, man. I always appreciate when people feel the need or, feel the inclination to help the channel out. I truly do. Bruce Johnson says, love this channel. My boy went live ASAP. Man, I got to. I had this stream queued up for what feels like an eternity, dog. I had this stream queued up in the backlog, just waiting to be able to go live for this one in particular. And I also had a backup one in place for Jonathan Kuminga. To me, though, I just want to be able to get to a place with this team where they're finally going to be able to have the size out there on the wing. That's Nasir says, love you, Matt. Go Cavs. Let's go. Right. I appreciate you, man. I truly do. I appreciate all you guys. All I know is that the Cleveland Cavaliers have had a pretty damn good offseason at this point. You didn't have to get rid of too much in-house talent this offseason. Yes, you let Dean Wade walk. Yes, Keon Ellis was allowed to depart. But when you look at what some of the additions bring to the table, I'm fucking ecstatic. Excuse my language. But listen, this is a dub. This is a dub. Again, kudos to Max Strus. Really, really appreciate what he has brought to the table. To me, though, I just think that Max Strus probably has reached his apex here in Cleveland. Peyton Watson is still on the ascension at just 23 years old. I'm so excited about what his potential could translate to. But again, huge gamble. I know that the Cavaliers took a long time to get this completed, and I know that they had been working behind the scenes the entire time. Again, give Kobe Almond some damn credit. Redeemed himself, in my opinion, after missing out on so many of the big name targets. This is a good one, considering the cost of it all, considering that you didn't have to pay out a bunch of money to get him either. $22 million a season is essentially the going rate for a starting level wing these days, not let alone a 3-and-D wing. How many fucking times have we asked this team to go out there and acquire one of those? They finally did it. They finally did it. Noble Ghost, appreciate you. Says, I know James sacrificed for us, but would it be evil to sign and trade him for Kyrie and a pretty pick? Yes. You bet your ass it would be evil. Don't do it. I love Kyrie Irving. I will always have a very soft spot in my heart for him, despite some of the things that have occurred in the media and on the court and off the court. But I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Kyrie Irving. But no, that would be just straight up disastrous. I don't think that the Cavs would be in the business of doing that. I think that after he has waited and sacrificed so much of his time, and to be quite honest with you, he didn't have to do that. He wanted this roster to improve. He gave them every avenue to explore improvement, and I think that he deserves a payday. I don't care what the thoughts are on James Harden, and I'm not saying that you don't like James Harden or anything, but what I will say is this. Whatever your thoughts are of James Harden, it is commendable for a star-level talent such as James Harden to wait out a contract extension to get this team improvement. He granted them flexibility. That is a really, really honorable thing. Say what you want about James Harden. Talk about the turnovers, talk about the the body fat percentage, talk about the defense, but never say that this guy isn't willing to sacrifice, because to me, like, that's a huge deal. That doesn't happen. This deal does not happen without James Harden willing to do that. Just doesn't. I'm feeling pretty good about this. It's not without its flaws, potential pitfalls, but it's a good gamble. It is a gamble that we have been asking this team to take for the longest. For all of you out there that wanted Kobe to make a swing, this is a fucking swing. Listen, DeAndre Hunter didn't work out. Sucks to see that trade, fizzle out essentially into nothing. But I feel all the more at peace knowing that Peyton Watson is, again, a year ago, just a calendar year ago, we were talking about DeAndre Hunter being the wing of the future for the Cavs. That shit did not work out. A calendar year later, we're talking about a 23-year-old Peyton Watson who has shown every bit of ability, every bit of cohesion, every bit of perfect fit on paper. And it only cost you Max Strus in a first rounder. Like, that was always going to be a given. At this point, fuck it. Like, the draft capital, it doesn't mean too much to me anymore, because if the Cavaliers do end up having to blow things up, if they do end up having to pivot to a rebuild, whether that be they're just blowing everything up or they're building around Mobley and Watson, they're going to get some of those picks back. That was never a consideration for me. I was never truly broken up about that. I was more so broken up about the fact that it could potentially have costed them some of the young talent, the Tysons of the world, the Proctors of the world, the Thomases of the world, and on and on and on. They got this done without those guys. So I'm feeling good. CK Production says, I get the pick, but damn, if you hit on Proctor or Malik, you legit have a young core. You have a point guard, Tyson and Mobley, all to grow together as Donovan ages. Great point. right? You can, and again, this kind of goes along with what I was saying about if they have to pivot, they have that young talent to lean on. And to be honest with you guys, since Dennis Schroeder was moved in a subsequent deal, a deal that preceded this, I I completely think that there is a real opportunity for Malik Thomas to jump into the rotation. I don't know. Maybe it's Craig Porter Jr. Maybe they give the backup point guard minutes to Tyrese Potter. Maybe even Trey Mann remains on the roster. But at the end of the day, you understand what I'm saying. They have an opportunity. They have a role open. They have an ability to give some of this young talent some run. And moving Max Strus does a couple of different things, right? Because Peyton Watson is positionally versatile enough to play not only the 3, but play the 4. We talked about this all the live on day about the differences positionally and the versatility between Kuminga and Watson. And right now, like it's a stark contrast. Peyton Watson represents basically the profile from a versatility standpoint that you coveted. He, this past season, played 56% of his minutes at the 3. The team, the Denver Nuggets, they had a net rating of plus 4.5 in those minutes, and that was 69th percentile. However, when he was playing at the 4, 43% of his minutes, by the way, the team's net rating shot up to 7.7, which is in the 82nd percentile. They had an offensive rating of 125.4, which was 95th percentile. By the way, 94th percentile in offensive rating when he was at the 3-2. Phenomenal shit, right? But defensively, this is where he can grow. Defensively, the teams were they were actually better. And this is going to sound like bullshit, but the teams were actually better defensively with Peyton Watson off the floor. I think that is an anomaly, to be honest with you. And this is another reason why I continue to harp on the team defense, because again, he is a phenomenal isolation defender. When defending in space, when going isolation against a ball handler, he can more than hold his own. He is a stopper. But in terms of team defense, he's got a lot of development to do. And the numbers kind of bear this out, right? I tend to trust my eyes and the film. It's a combination of the two. But and again, I feel the need to say this because I get this comment all the time. I trust my eyes. Bullshit. Your eyes are subjective. It's a combination of things. You can talk all the live long day about film and not, and people being able to interpret that differently. And I'm a huge believer that just because I watch the same film as you doesn't mean I'm going to see it the same way as you. The stats combined with the film tell the whole story. The stats tell us that Peyton Watson, when he was on the floor, they were in the 26th percentile in terms of defensive rating, 120.2. Not great. A little bit better when he's at the 4. 117.7. That's 41st percentile defensive rating when he plays minutes at the 4. But having a backline defense of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, two guys that will make up for every bit of team defensive laps that he has out there in ways that nobody on that Denver Nuggets roster could, that's a big deal. That is a huge deal, in fact. And so I'm willing to bet that we see the best season yet of Peyton Watson. Maybe the efficiency goes down a little bit in terms of that three-point shot, but I am willing to bet you that, number one, we see the efficiency in terms of impact go up. I think the defensive rating goes up. I think that the viability off ball is a huge factor here. We know that anybody that played the 3 for this team in that starting lineup was going to have to be able to space the floor. And I stand by this 10 toes down. If Jonathan Kuminga was the one acquired, he was going to the bench. And that's not a slight against him. It's just a fit thing. Peyton Watson was the best fitting piece available. Simple as that, man. Fits the narrative. Fits the narrative. And Nick, I believe you were the last comment that I saw on that video. He says, "This is my last resort." How you feeling now, Nick? I'm sorry, I got to give you a little bit of shit because you were the last comment on that video about Tyson. Don't change your tune. That's all I got to say. M Doombot says, if I'm Kobe, I ask James, is he willing to have reduced minutes in the playoffs or come off the bench? Money stays the same. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that James Harden is best suited as a second, third option. He's not supposed to be the guy that is constantly utilizing possessions. He's not supposed to have this super high usage rate at this point in his career. But on the team constructed like this, it's really difficult not to have that be the case because Donovan Mitchell is another high usage guard. The threes that were operating in that spot before that, really low percentage. Like Dean Wade, in terms of usage rate out there, was absolutely shitty in terms of usage rate. I'm not saying he's a shitty player, by the way. I'm just saying usage rate. Dean Wade last year, 9.7%. That was in the 4th percentile among his position group. You heard that right. 4th percentile. In terms of Max Strus, pretty solid, 16.6% usage rate, which was within the 77th percentile. Jalen Tyson, 17.6%, 64th percentile for his position group. Those are the primary options. If you're not factoring in guys like Sam Merrill, who is actually in the 98th percentile among his position group in usage rate at 15.9%, or Naquan Tomlin, who was barely a factor at that position, who's primarily a 4. But you get what I'm saying. It's Donovan Mitchell and James Harden who typically dominate the touches, dominate the usage, and Evan Mobley gets the scraps at that point. So I'm very curious to see what happens in terms of the actual usage rate of it all. But this is a good one, man. This is a really good move for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that you couldn't have done any better if you're Kobe Altman at this point in the offseason, and got to stay patient. And when you look at what Kobe Altman has traditionally done with some of these signing trades, like, listen, you got Lauri Markkanen, you got Max Strus, you got Peyton Watson. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but you understand, like, he's been cooking on these signing trades. Max was a very productive player despite the injuries here. He wasn't like a star level talent, obviously. He wasn't the answer, but he was really, really solid for the Cavaliers in his 3 seasons here. Lauri Markkanen, that doesn't really need a conversation. He is still missed at certain points to this day because of that size and the Tower City lineups with 3 bigs essentially out there, like the tall, big ass front court. That still was fun to watch in 2021, 22. And then obviously Peyton Watson. This has every bit the potential to be a defining move for this team. Is it LeBron? No. Is it Jaylen Brown? No. Is it Giannis Antetokounmpo? No. But when you consider what those guys, the Giannis, that was a very costly possible move for Giannis. That could have costed them Evan Mobley. LeBron, that's kind of it's kind of an outlier because he decided where he wanted to go in free agency and he took a small ass salary. So that's the only one I'll say. But Jaylen Brown, like, that would have cost you Evan Mobley too. In terms of sheer talent, he may not be on those guys' levels, but in terms of fit, this is about as good as you can get, man. Like, this is honestly as good as you can get in terms of the fit out there. And I'm absolutely in love with the potential that he brings to the table. But again, this is a huge upside play. When you look at the rest of the needs on this roster, though, it'll be very interesting to see how they potentially backfill some of what was lost. Because to me, the balance is going to be what is key here. Those backup minutes, that's going to define the season for this team, in my opinion. Not the biggest factor, but it will be a defining factor, mind you, because they now have to figure out who they most trust on that bench. Because it didn't matter whether or not Max was in the starting lineup or on the bench. You could always count on Strus to bring his A game, whether he was knocking down shots or not. He was out there hustling. He was out there trying. He was about his business. He was about winning. Who on this Cavaliers team has that same mentality? I'm willing to bet that Jalen Tyson can bring it to the table. I'm willing to bet that Malik Thomas, the fire that we saw out of him, that can translate, but that's a largely unproven player. It is not a given. Who do they trust? Is it Sam Merrill? Is it Jalen Tyson? Is it Naquan Tomlin? Is it Mario Hezonja? Who do they trust on the bench? Because I think Watson is the unquestioned starter. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Peyton Watson, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. How is that starting five for you? That's awesome. It truly is. I'm thinking about the size out there now too. When you have a 6'6" James Harden. By the way, let's paint this picture again. Donovan Mitchell is now the shortest player on the floor. I mean, I guess he was beforehand, but let's just think about this. Donovan Mitchell is a pretty stocky 6'3". James Harden at about 6'5", 6'6". You got Peyton Watson at 6'8". You got Evan Mobley at basically 7 foot, 6'11" out there. You got Jarrett Allen, and what do they list him at? 6'10", 6'9" these days? I don't fucking know what these guys lie about their height all the time. But what I can tell you is that the front court is now really, really long in terms of not only wingspan out there, but in terms of heights, the size, the speed, the versatility. You got everything you wanted, man. Now he just has to, he's got to translate it. Because again, largely January was the defining factor for his season. That's why he ended up averaging 14.6 points. That's why he ended up shooting 41.1% from three-point distance. That was the big chunk of the season for him. That was the defining factor. He only played, I want to say, 7 more games after that January, that 15-game January that was phenomenal. That got him on a lot of people's scouting reports, that got him on a lot of people's wish lists. That came in January. The months that followed, that was actually 8 games. 3 in February, 4 in March, 1 in April. It's got to translate, and it has to come in the playoffs for what it's worth. For this team, for better or worse, I don't really care what this team does in terms of regular season success as long as they get a 4 seed. I don't really care. But to me, you got to be able to translate the production to the postseason, which is what we have been asking for a number of players on this roster, whether that be Sam Merrill and knocking down some shots consistently, whether that be Dean Wade and actually pulling the damn trigger from three-point distance, whether that be Jalen Tyson, if I didn't already mention him, in terms of not making boneheaded decisions, picking up technical fouls, and again, knocking down shots because he was not efficient by any stretch of the imagination. By the way, Jalen Tyson left open for 34 of his 38 three-point attempts in the postseason. Was terrible in terms of efficiency. I just wanted to highlight that because I had been going back and forth with somebody in terms of the slow release being the issue. No, he was left open. He just didn't knock the shit down. He's got to do that in the playoffs. But I think having Peyton Watson will take the pressure off because now Tyson can step into that reserve 3, sometimes 4 role, and maybe play more naturally at the 2 at times, and the pressure won't be there. But not losing him, that's a huge deal to me. I absolutely love the fact that the Cavaliers were able to accomplish what they were able to accomplish. And I'm seeing some rumblings here about some of the players that have been acquired by the Cavs. So I'm going to go ahead and check on that. But that's pretty damn awesome in terms of what has occurred for them. I'm astounded. I'm astounded. Again, per Shams, and I'm going to clip this up for people who may have joined late or have not had the chance to see what Shams has said. Give me just a second to put that on screen. But they are cooking. Kobe Oman is cooking. Don't talk bad about my guy anymore. He's finally redeemed himself. He can come out of the doghouse. Listen, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good about this, but they are fucking cooking. Yo, that's some crazy stuff. As part of the deal, the Cavaliers are sending Trey Mann. I know we were just talking about Trey Mann, and this happened while we're on the damn call, not Zoom call, while we're on the stream. As part of the deal, the Cavaliers are sending Trey Mann, the 2027 second rounder from the Clippers, and cash to the Washington Wizards for Cam Whitmore. Listen, Cam has always been a player that I would love to have acquired, and we finally got him. That's awesome. The Wizards are also sending Julian Reese to the Nuggets, who will waive Reese off of his two-way deal. That's pretty damn awesome, man. You got this has been good. This has been a good, strong close to the offseason. I just tweeted this shit out the other day. People are telling me, give up. What are you doing? Hope is lost. It's not. Continued reading that tweet. It says, man fills a positional need as the Wizards have searched for an additional guard in recent weeks, while the Cavaliers gain a smaller salary and Whitmore to create optionality under the first apron. So not only did these guys get the talent that they needed at the 3, but they saved money in the process, right? They cooked. Kobe Altman and company cooked. People were saying that Mike Gansey was the brains behind the organization in terms of some of the deals that were made in years prior, but he has cooked with Philly. I got to give him that. But Kobe Altman has redeemed himself. That is awesome. Getting Cam Whitmore and Peyton Watson. Let's fucking go. I mean, that's awesome. Cam Whitmore, again, not necessarily the flashiest player, but at 6'6", he is another player that can step in at wing, at small forward. He's coming off a 21-game season for the Wizards, if I'm not mistaken, where he averaged 9.2 points per game. He did shoot 45.6% from the field, but he only shot 28.6% from three-point distance. Historically, though, he has shot 34.9% across 119 appearances. Now, again, this is a player that still, from a positional standpoint, probably doesn't have the size that people would love, but 6'6" is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Some places have him listed as 6'7", so fuck it. Like, he's Jalen Tyson sized. He's Max Strus sized, probably 6'5.5" without shoes or some shit like that. But I'll take it, man. I'll take it. This is a player, 79th percentile, and I get it, small sample size, just 21 games, 79th percentile in terms of steal percentage this past season. That is at 1.7%, 0.9 block percentage at 60th percentile. Really solid offensive and defensive rebounder in terms of coming off of free throws, and pretty solid in terms of just straight up regular old offensive rebound rate at 4.8%, which is in the 65th percentile. He can shoot. He can run the floor. He can. You guys get what I'm trying to say. Pretty solid offseason, man. I'm feeling pretty good about this one, and this was worth a wait. Give Kobe Altman his credit as I go to tweet the very same thing that I'm saying. Kobe Altman cooked. My boy finally woke up from his long slumber and it just got shit done. I mean, give him the credits that he deserves. Let's fucking go, man. Let's get into some of the some of the comments down here. NH Clee Dog says, I cannot find any source confirming that Cam Whitmore ad. Wait, who the heck is Cam Whitmore? Look at some film. Cam Whitmore ain't bad. E. Hendo says he ain't going to be worse than Strus, and Strus had to really work for it. Phoenix says, Kobe, you underestimate my power. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Nicotine says starters: Harden, Spida, Watson, Mobley, J.A. That's a fucking wonderful starting 5, by the way. Bench: Malik, Sam, Mario, J.T., Bryant. That ain't bad, man. That is not bad at all. That's a really good second unit. And again, it's not set in stone, but you still got Proctor. You still possibly could have Craig Porter Jr. man in a role. Like Naquan Tomlin still sitting around here. Like I'm feeling pretty fucking good, man. I'm feeling good about this one. I really am. Carmona says, yes, sir. HJ says Proctor over Malik, though. I mean, it's going to be a hell of a battle between Craig, between Proctor, between Malik. Like, this is some good stuff. Some good stuff. Stephen Heyman says Cam Whitmore is a good pickup if he can get his mind right and stop thinking he's the guy on offense. Proctor is lunch versus Simon, says Penn State Sports Talk. We didn't need Trey Mann. No, we didn't. Light POF says, do you think the Cavs need backup center? No. I mean, to be honest, I think you can use depth. Depth is never a bad thing. But again, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley stagger at backup 5 most of the time. Actually, I want to say that the bulk of Evan Mobley's minutes just this past season, believe it or not, actually came at the 5, and that was because of reserve lineups. I'll confirm that. Yeah, 65% of his minutes came at center last year, just 35% at the 5. That's because he staggers. He often comes into those second unit lineups with some of the reserves out there taking over for JA. They stagger those lineups. Thomas Bryant gets whatever is left between Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley oftentimes, and they have brought him back. They also have Ernest Udeh Jr., who I think can play small ball 5 in the NBA if given an opportunity. I feel really good about the potential there. So I don't think they need a reserve big, but I definitely think that depth is never a bad thing. But after getting Peyton Watson, after getting Cam Whitmore, that's a really good offseason. Like, I know it didn't start out great. I understand that you didn't get LeBron, you didn't get Jaylen Brown, you didn't get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Jonathan Kuminga looks off the table. But getting Peyton Watson at 6'8", big athlete, defender, has defensive versatility, that is something that I think that will translate at the highest level for this team, because that is what they have been asking for. That's what they've been clamoring for seasons now. And again, I will miss Max Strus just as I miss my boy Dean Wade. But again, this was necessary. This was necessary. They've taken a step in the right direction. They truly have. They truly have. Stephen Heyman says Trey got traded and the Rook may not play. Probably not. But again, I wouldn't rule it out. Malik Thomas seems to be the best creator of the proverbial group right now of Proctor and Porter Jr. He seems to be the best of the group in terms of creation. He's not a bad playmaker. He has shown some defensive intangibles out there that could translate as a disruptor. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I truly would not. Marcel Sadler says, now we only have 2 players 6'2" and under. Mitchell and Porter Jr., we are getting bigger, which I like. And I think, to be quite honest with you, Mitchell's like 6'3". He's a big 6'3", an athletic 6'3" at that. And he may be trending downward in terms of the athletic viability. But again, we're still really talented, still really good, still really good. HJ17 Gaming says, Proctor playmaking is mad underrated. It is, but I also think that the creative nature of how Malik Thomas scores could outweigh that combined with his playmaking ability. I don't know. It's hard to say. I did think that Proctor looked good in some of the international hoops that was played this offseason, and that's why he didn't take place in Summer League. But again, I think people are ruling Proctor out too easily too. So I agree there. Nicotine says Schroeder is gone. Leak is 100% playing. I don't think that's a given. I think it is very possible, but I think some of you guys are really, really counting Proctor and Porter out. The only thing truly hindering Porter, because he plays way above his listed size, is the shot, right? The shot in terms of floor spacing. That, to me, right there is what is holding him back. If he can take a step in the direction that the Cavaliers would hope for in that regard, then he could end up with that role, because he's still very versatile. He is a really good defender in terms of the positional size of it all, really good steal rate, really good block rate, really good in terms of isolation defense for his size at just 6'1", plays bigger than that, but it's the shot that's holding him back. And also, he's a really good rebounder. Don't count him out. Tyrese Proctor, to me, still is a viable developmental piece for this team. I think people saw one season of Proctor, and then they saw 4 games from Malik Thomas in the Summer League, and we're just like, yeah, he'll leapfrog everybody. When the context needs to be applied, it's not that simple. They're not just going to throw that role at him just because he had 4 good Summer League appearances. He's got to do it against NBA level competition too. He's got to beat out some stiff competition. Let's be fair. Vincent Robinson says Thomas Bryant is only backup center and veteran presence. True. R.A. No says, I'm the only Proctor believer. I own all of the stock options. Carmona says, I'm so happy right now. What's the next move? I don't know. But this is good. Solid close to the offseason. If this is the last thing that we see, truly, I wrote so many times, it's today the day. It's today the day. It's today the day. It's today the day. And today is the day. We got to feel good about that, man. We truly do. 97th percentile defensive versatility, 97th percentile in isolation defense. Really great in terms of the steal and block percentages out there at his position. It just doesn't get any better than that for what you paid to get him. 99th percentile at his position group in a block percentage. And I want to say, because I checked this out, he was actually the best player at his position for players above 500 minutes played in that particular category. This dude will reject your shot, man. He will reject it into the first, to the fifth row. That's just great, man. Sign Batum. We need a vet. Batum went overseas. Vincent Robinson says, I'm going to miss Max, but it was time to get rid bigger salaries. Again, a huge reason why I wanted to keep Jalen Tyson's because he's a cost-controlled young asset. Cost-controlled young asset. Stephen Heyman says, and can we stop counting out Altman? Dude makes sound moves, rather it works out or not. Yeah, again, I've been an Altman apologist for the longest time. It feels good to be on the right side of that for, as of late. He's made some mistakes. He's had some decisions that haven't panned out, but for better or worse, it's not like he's been shy. He has taken the shot time and time again. Donovan Mitchell, right? Acquiring that right there really just flipped the timeline on its head. It expedited things, exponentially. And it made the developmental timeline for guys like Darius, Garland, and Evan Mobley, and even Isaac Okoro when he was here, like kind of put things into fast forward. But in the time that he has been president of basketball operations or GM or just basically in control of a lot of these roster decisions, he's pulled the trigger time and time again. Sometimes it just hasn't worked out. Like moving Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball, that was viewed by many as a solid move because of the salary that it saved without paying the premium of picks to do it, to offload salary. And we thought Lonzo might have worked out. It didn't. It happens. We thought the DeAndre Hunter deal was going to work. It didn't, but it was a good swing at the time. This is a great swing considering what it cost you. And you got Cam Whitmore. I like it. I'm feeling good, man. If you couldn't tell, I truly am, because this thing, I think this moves the needle. People are asking for a needle mover. People are saying this team is not better than 5-6 teams in the East. They're going to be a playing team. You can shut the fuck up now. They're not a playing team. They were never going to be a playing team. They were going to be a legitimate playoff contender, but whether or not they could take that next step, that was going to be in question. That's fair. That's fair. I am Worthy says, now it is up to Kenny. Do you believe? Are you all in? I want to, but again, like I gotta see Kenny. I gotta see Kenny improve too. Like it's one thing to get the talent. It's one thing to have it on your roster. It's another thing to utilize it. It's another thing to get the most out of it. One thing that was really clear to me about the, and I'm sure you guys probably watched this. How many of you watched the Richard Jefferson episode the other day that had my boy Matthew Dellavedova? That was a killer episode, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link it in the description. It was phenomenal watch. One of the things that was discussed in that episode, in that video, was the fact that Ty Lue challenged LeBron James, a player at the height of his powers at that point in time, in front of the entire damn team. Can you as a coach get the inspiration? Can you have the goal, the unmitigated balls to question James Harden and Donovan Mitchell in front of the team? Can you get more out of your top end talents? Can they give more? Can you put guys in the best position to be out there and functioning in roles that fit what they do best? That to me is what I need to see out of Kenny Atkinson. I need to see more composure in terms of timeout usage. I need to see him better utilize those. I need to see him stop relying so much on small guard lineups. And you can say this right now. Listen, I'll put this out there and get some of that is roster construction. You can argue a lot of it is roster construction related, why he did that, but he don't think really has any choice anymore. Utilize the size, utilize the talent, utilize the guys, put them in good positions. That to me is what is going to define him, and it'll come in the playoffs because if they flame out this year, I think he's gone. I think he's gone, to be honest with you. I think that if Kenny Atkinson has a meltdown like he did in game 1 against New York, where he just didn't fucking call a timeout during the stretch run where Jalen Brunson, I think, scores 12 straight points from Jalen Brunson or something like that. I can't remember. Scored a bunch of points, a lot of them on James Harden. I want to see the likes of Kenny Atkinson coach at the top of his game. He has no more excuses. He truly doesn't. I got to see it. I truly have to see it. I think that when you're talking about the coaches that win championships, they all have a defining moment, and I'm not seeing it with Kenny Atkinson just yet. As Nate has a comment down here, Mac talked about his defense and shooting. Well, Watson can also play, make, and score. This isn't Dean Wade. Okay, so just a few things. I hate to break it to you, Nick. Not Nick. Nate. 35th percentile in assist percentage. That's bad. 11th percentile in assist to usage rate at 0.48. 30th percentile in turnover percentage at 13.1%. So that means when he had the ball in his hands, he was either one, turning the ball over a lot, or he wasn't assisting. It is not a question to me of whether or not he can play make. I think he can. But also, fit matters. James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley will have the ball in their hands. Peyton Watson will occasionally, in my opinion. But to be honest with you, I think they're going to use Watson a lot like I think they're going to use Peyton Watson a lot like they were using Jalen Tyson, an off-ball outlet who will occasionally have the ball in his hands. So I wouldn't use playmaking. I think that is a bad indicator. Can he score? Absolutely. But again, the bulk of his shots were assisted. 74th percentile in that regard. Well, I want to say, yeah, just the bulk of his shots were assisted upon. And it's not a slight to him, but I'll paint a picture for you. 74% of his shots were assisted. That's 50th percentile. That means that he was being fed the ball. He wasn't setting himself up. He was not a creator in the traditional sense most of the time. So, yeah, I think that he'll fit. And I think this is a great fit, by the way. I just think that I wouldn't go expecting him to all of a sudden become this like, Josh Hart level playmaker, rebounder, just this all around glue guy out there. I don't know what the expectation will be, but we got to see it play out on the court. We'll see. We shall see what ends up happening there. Stephen Heyman says trading one of them, Allen in particular. No, I'm not doing that. Nathan Leitman says playmaking was a bad choice of words. I meant more attacking closeouts. Yeah, that's an entirely different concept, though. Playmaking, no. Attacking closeouts, absolutely. Somebody that can do that. Somebody who will put the ball on the floor and attack closeout much more than Dean Wade will. J-Bone says, is this dude better than Kuminga? Yeah. There's a reason why Peyton Watson was being viewed as the target. And listen, let's not think about it like, is he better than Jonathan Kuminga? Because there are certain things that Jonathan Kuminga was better at than Peyton Watson, and certain things that Peyton Watson is better at than Jonathan Kuminga. To me, it's about fit. If your whole thing was acquiring a starting level 3 without paying a premium, like they just did, and that wasn't a given. A lot of us thought it might have costed them a lot more than what they did. But again, Peyton Watson's fit is the big concern here. Not the big concern, the big thing here. Theoretically a good fit. It's got to play out on paper. Still a gamble on upside. Just a 54-game sample size. Just a 15-game run in January that led to that. But again, yeah, I think like if I'm being put on the spot, I do think he is a better player. Stephen Heyman says Donovan is small and old. I mean, really? Do we really? Again, your entire lineup doesn't have to be Goliath. I mean, some of them might be David out there. You don't need a bunch of 6'5", 6'6" guys to win a championship in the NBA. Like, you just don't. The whole 2 small guards thing, sure, I'll give you that, because as much as people like to say that, and there's some anomalies there, like Donovan at 6'2", 6'3", wherever you look, is the small player, but he plays bigger than that. He defends bigger than that. He could be a lot better defensively. He could harken back to his Louisville days where he was an all-conference defender, but I don't see that happening. But he's 29. He'll be 30 by the time the season starts, but 30 is not old. I venture to say that some of you in this chat are probably older. I'm 33. I have to remind myself a lot of times that I'm older than most of these players. I mean, I'm older than most of the guys on this roster. That's crazy to me. But yeah, 30 is not old. It's just not even in basketball terms anymore. I mean, 30 is the new 20 at this point in the NBA, as long as you keep your body in good shape. And as long as Donovan is not like racking up a super heavy usage rate, as long as guys stay healthy. And that was a huge reason that Donovan has faded out down the stretch at certain times in the playoffs, because guys are hurt and he's having to be leaned on so early in the season like he was. There was a point in the 2025-26 season where Donovan Mitchell was legitimately playing at an MVP level, like a top 5, top 7 level, because Darius Garland was injured, because Sam Merrill was injured, because Max Strus was still out, because Evan Mobley had times where he was in and out of lineup. Jalen Tyson missed time. I feel like everybody missed time last year. Donovan Mitchell was one of those guys that really, whether the Cavs won or lost, or he had a bad game efficiency-wise or not, he was playing at a high level for the bulk of the season, and he wore out. And that tends to happen to smaller guards who are very athletically inclined, but I can't really give that to you. Donovan is not small and old. He's still very, very good and talented. This is an Eastern Conference Finals participant. I mean, he's not going to change that much from 2025-26 to 2026-27. It's not going to be that much of a player difference in that regard. Michael Klein says, are the Cavs done? Please tell me no. No, I think they'll end up getting at least one more acquisition. And I'm older than Donovan, says Stephen Heyman. I'm strictly speaking basketball. Again, yeah. I mean, Jalen Brunson is 29. Is Jalen Brunson old? He's also small. Steph Curry, Google his age. Like, again, 30 in basketball is not really old. It's usually it is the tail end. In NBA careers are pretty short on average, right? For the average player, but Donovan is not an average player. He is still technically in his prime, towards the other end of it, but he is still technically in his prime. Talking Grubbin says, Mac, don't feel bad. I'm 43, bro. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, and you got to kind of think about it. Like, you got to remind yourself sometimes that these guys are younger than we are. Younger. HJ17 Game says, would Harden make 14 roster spots? I actually think let's look at that, because they got Cam Whitmore, right? They have made a bunch of moves recently. I think James Harden would actually make spot 14, because it's not like they're gaining extra spots, or it's not like they're losing extra spots or getting extra spots because Max Strus is gone. They got Peyton, they got Cam. So you traded Peyton. No, you traded Max and Trey, and you got Peyton and Cam. So technically, there were no roster spots gained or lost, right? I'm not in my right mind right now. But Cleveland, as it stands right now, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Peyton Watson. That is 4. You got Sam Merrill, that's 5. Jalen Tyson is 6. Thomas Bryant is 7. Mario Hazonia is 8. Naquan Tomlin is 9. Craig Porter Jr. is 10. Tyrese Proctor is 11. Malik Thomas is 12. James Harden, I think, would be 13th. And then Cam Whitmore is 14. So, yeah, that would be 14. So there is an open spot. So, yeah, I don't think they're done. But traditionally, this has to be mentioned. The Cavs have traditionally left the roster spot open to begin the season. And they do that for flexibility reasons. They do that for expense reasons, salary cap reasons. There's a lot of reasons they do that. But who knows? As presently constructed, you can argue that they're okay heading into the season as is at 14 once he does sign. But if they don't and they elect to sign somebody on the market, there's still some viable talents out there. And there will be more guys who get cut or waived or bought out there will be a lot of opportunities for this team to add additional talent, which is a great thing when you really think about it. HJ17 says, yeah, they done with the offseason then if it's 14. I want one more big, though. NH Clean says, ESPN updated their article to include Cam move to the Cavs. Yeah, he's there. He'll be there. He didn't – I want to say that he was injured, and that's why he only played 21 games. Sadly, Bremen says, did you say Trey Mann? No, I don't. Maybe I did. No, I think I said Cam Whitmore. But again, I'll run through that list one more time just in case. James Harden would be 1. Donovan Mitchell would be 2. Evan Mobley would be 3. Peyton Watson would be 4. Jarrett Allen would be 5. Sam Merrill would be 6. Jalen Tyson would be 7. Thomas Bryant would be 8. Mario Hezonja would be 9. Tomlin would be 10. CPJ would be 11. Proctor would be 12. Thomas is 13. And then again, yeah, Cam Whitmore, as I mentioned, 14. That's 14. I don't think I said Trey Mann. As I said, though, I think that it has to be taken into consideration that they traditionally have left this spot open during the Kobe Alvin era for flexibility reasons. HJ says, if I could bring my boy Niang for the Cavs, man, I'm all over the place. Bring back my boy Niang for the vibes. I would be okay with that, I suppose. Niang has always got a place in my heart after coming on the show. That was a pretty cool episode a couple seasons back. Sebastian Ramon says, I'm going to miss Max. Hot take, I'd rather have him than Sam if they're making the same money. I haven't seen from Sam all around game so far. To be honest with you, I understand that. I do. It's just that the fact of the matter is that Max is making almost double what Sam is making on the season for 2026-27. Sam is due to make $9.16 million. Max Strus is due to make $16.6 million. So almost double what Sam was making for a pretty similar output in terms of what the role is. They're not exactly the same. Max does have a little bit more versatility to his game, and he is a little bit bigger. But I do think that there's a lot of overlap there in terms of usage and what they do. So I like what they have done in keeping him out of conversations. The same way that I like the fact that they have kept Jalen Tyson on the roster. Really, really, really excited about the fact that we didn't surrender him. And again, I just want to say suck it to some of the people that wanted to trade Jalen Tyson in this move, and it didn't cost them that. So that's pretty damn awesome to me. Take that how you want. HJ says, Locked On Nuggets looks to be very pissed off. I would assume that they are, because again, I don't think anybody entering this offseason, if you're a Nuggets fan, I don't think that you wanted Peyton Watson gone at all. He priced himself out. He had a good run in January. He only played 8 more games following that, and he demanded $25+ million. They could not offer him that. I think they offered him 4 years, $70 million? Is that the offer that was extended to him by the Denver Nuggets? Something in that area. With the Cavs, he got $88 million. That's a damn good deal for him, because you're banking a lot of this on the potential. And something else I feel like they have to say. Something I have to say rather is this. Sometimes I think what's lost in some of these contracts is that you're not always paying a guy for what he has done. You're paying him for what he could potentially become as well. It's why Evan Mobley got the deal that he got in the first place. It's why rookie max extensions are what they are. It's because you've seen enough out of a player say, yeah, this guy, there's something to him. I want to keep him around. But you're not quite sold all the way. So you just pay the premium. For Peyton Watson, this is essentially what this is. The Cavaliers saw an opportunity to acquire a guy that fits the needs that they have at that position. He's athletic. He's versatile. He's got size. That's potentially worth a lot in the NBA. And if at 23, if he morphs into more than he is right now, you're going to have him on a gamble. $22 million in today's NBA for a starting wing, that's chump change, essentially, these days. So that's good to me. If Lexpo says, I just saw a Nuggets analyst on Twitter say, how did Denver not get Tyson out of this? Not gonna lie, being a Cavs fan just tells how teams see Tyson now. And besides that, it's Don's work. Don't you dare, Kobe. Yeah, I mean, like, I look at this as a win for this team in a big way. I think that the Cavs obviously had a rough start to the offseason. I think that this team was putting itself in a position to get a real impact performer. And then when it didn't work out with Giannis, when it didn't work out with Jaylen Brown, when it didn't work out with LeBron, a lot of fans just gave up hope. And I'm proud to say that I always thought something would get done. I'm just glad that they finally managed to do it. So props to him for getting this done. Him being Kobe Altman and company. Alec Will says, great trade for Cavaliers. Absolutely. Phoenix says, bring Kevin Love back as the 15th man for the good unk vibes and the power of friendship. The rumors are that Love wants to join Philly. I don't think that's happening. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, I suppose. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Chris Norwood says, Watson put Nuggets in a position where they had to trade him ASAP and get what they could. Exactly. When you're a restricted free agent and you have a run like this and the team is facing stark second apron penalties, which they wanted to avoid, you had no real recourse other than to trade him before he got into unrestricted free agency and risk losing him for nothing. So they had to get something. They didn't want to lose him for nothing. Big Time B says, I honestly don't think Mario or CPJ don't make the final roster. Both contracts are non-guaranteed. I think they do. I don't think that they sign Mario with the intent, especially coming off a Spanish MVP. I don't think they sign him to that deal with the intent of releasing him, because after you've gotten Peyton Watson, right, you still need depth at power forward. And when you look at how Mario has been used traditionally, and again, bear with me, because the minutes totals and distributions were as of the 2019-20 season, his last in the NBA. But even before that, Mario had played the bulk of his minutes in his later years at power forward. 68% of his minutes while with the Portland Trailblazers back during that season came at the 4. Prior to that, he played 34% with the New York Knicks and 58% at the 3. He has played and 51% with the Orlando Magic in 2017-2018. He, at this stage of his career, in my opinion, is a 4. You can play him at a 3, but he's more so a 4, in my opinion. But the good thing about Mario is that he will attack closeouts. He is unafraid to pull the trigger, whether he makes the shot or not. He can put the ball on the floor, and he's got a little bit of grit and hustle and just nastiness to him. So I like it. D. Bolin says, hiding 10 joules. Appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who steps into the chat to, give this type of stuff. In and Out of the Abyss says, hot take, Tyson will play backup one. I like the creativity with that thought process, but to be honest with you, I think that when you have Malik, when you have CPJ, when you have Proctor, I don't think Tyson should be the one playing those minutes, because again, right, if Peyton Watson is your starting 3, somebody's got to play those backup 3 minutes. And do we really want Sam Merrill or Mario, who essentially, again, he's going to have to play backup 4? Do we really want those guys playing that spot? And, Tomlin factors in here too, obviously, but there's a lot of considerations here. So to me, Tyson makes most sense as your backup 3 primarily, sometimes minutes at the 2, maybe even you play him up a position at the 4, but I'm not playing him at the 1. That's just not something I'm comfortable doing. But again, we've seen Kenny do crazier things than that. And just to give you a little bit of a breakdown of where he has been positionally just this past season, 22% of his minutes came at the 2 in 2025-26. The bulk of them came at the 3, 56%, and he did play 23% of his minutes at the 4. They had a positive net rating in each of those lineups. But by far, the 3 minutes were the best. 71st percentile, plus 5.4, offensive rating of 121.6, which was 86th percentile. Got some work to do defensively in terms of team defense, but Jalen Tyson to me is by far best suited to play the 3 over any other position. He can play the 2, but I think that even though he doesn't have the traditional size that you always covet, I think he works best at the 3. But I digress. I really don't know what Kenny's going to do. I truly don't. Brian Tolliver says Cam Whitmore is a nice low risk, high reward move. Yeah, still fairly young as far as players in this type of environment go at just 22 years old, right? Still has some development, I suppose, still left in him, and it's pretty low risk. It truly is. So I'm interested to see how this works out. Lana Lonzo, sorry if I mispronounced that, says, excuse me, says Cam Whitmore can play that backup 3. I think it's possible. I'm not sure how comfortable that Kenny Atkinson would be in kind of usurping Tyson there, considering that Tyson performed well there, but it's possible. Historically speaking, Cam Whitmore played 74% of his minutes, believe it or not. And this is funny. 74% of his minutes with the Wizards came at the 4, believe it or not. Just 23% at the 3. Season prior to that, when he was in Houston, prior to that move, 48% split at the 3, 48% at the 4, and 3%. And obviously the numbers don't work out all that well. 3% at the 2, 1% at center. Crazy. But again, you understand what I'm saying. I don't think that they're going to play Cam Whitmore as the primary 3. I think that'll be Jalen Tyson's avenue, but we'll see. And then Tam Merrill, much the chagrin of many fans, including myself, will probably still get some minutes at the 3. HJ says, Cam, Mario, and Tomlin can fight for that backup 4 spot. Steve Heyman says, I like Tyson at the 2. His switchability make our team a defensive monster. He's solid there. I would prefer the bulk of his minutes coming at the 3, but I do hope that Kenny does use him in some lineups as the 2. Nicotine says, I think JT is the backup 4 strictly for need unless Tomlin takes a huge leap. I'm giving Mario and Tomlin, and maybe even Whitmore, as I mentioned before, first dibs at that backup 4. Probably starting with Mario and then down to Tomlin, because at some point, you really do have to evaluate and make a decision and determination on whether or not you believe that Naquan Tomlin is long for this roster, if Naquan Tomlin can be a role player on this team for a championship contender. I think if they were, and I hate to say it this way because they're clearly smart. If they were smart, they would see what Tomlin had early on, see if he can morph into that role and do well there, excel there. Because for all intents and purposes, Tomlin could still turn into that backup for the future. It's all about that 3-point shot, though, man. If he can't space the floor semi-respectably, he is not going to be an NBA player for very long. And this, I say this with love. I say this as a fan of Naquan Tomlin. I say this as somebody who genuinely wants this man to succeed. It's got to translate in terms of that 3-point shot. That's all it is. He's got to space the floor. If he can do that, he's your backup 4. Steve Heyman says Harden wants a ring. Agreed. Tyler Bell says, talking point, say in a couple of years, the title chase flames out and we have to pivot to younger timeline without Mitchell and Harden. Our new young core of Tyson, Mobley, Malik, and Proctor. Yeah, I think somebody brought this up earlier. I agree. Like this exact same cast of players, I think that you mentioned here. This is a great pivot if you have to. It's not given, but it's a good starting point for a rebuild. HJ says, Tomlin also got to gain a little muscle. He does. But I mean, listen, this guy he's got some of those intangibles that you want to see. And he's a hustler. He will get in your face. Ain't nobody punking that guy. We saw that just this last season. I got a whole damn video on the channel about that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Staples Clive says, how are we feeling about backup point guard? Can CBJ or Malik do it? I think one of them will earn that role. But again, do not count out Tyrese Proctor. It may not be we have a traditional one guard there. Maybe we do kind of divvy these minutes up and see who can give us the best combination of what we need in a given situation. Maybe it's Tyrese Proctor. Maybe it is the playmaking and versatility of Craig Porter Jr. Maybe it is the shot making of Malik Thomas. I don't know, but I definitely think that one of those guys are going to earn that role. I don't think they sign somebody or trade for somebody additionally to fill that role. I think whoever is going to man that role is already on the roster. It's going to be internally filled. Walter Johnson says, Strus gone to, we lose a big time shot maker. Sam doesn't show up when needed often. To be fair, let's be fair, right? If you're looking at the postseason, specifically the postseason, in his 18 appearances this season for the Cavaliers in the playoffs, Max Strus shot 35.8% from three-point distance on good volume, mind you. Sam Merrill, juxtaposed to that in the postseason, shot 37.2% on relatively the same volume. He shot better. Sam is capable. If it's all about timing, if it's all about big shots, sure, I'll give that to you. Max made some big shots, but I think Merrill is capable. That's what's something that also has to be taken into consideration here is Merrill's health too. Merrill's health. He's got to stay healthy. His wrist was all kinds of effed up. You could see him grabbing it on every damn near every play, every other play in the postseason. He was getting banged up. Craigology says Max had heart. I think Sam does too. I think people underrate Sam. Nuggets fan here can crash to the Cavs. Got a good player. Appreciate you, Trey. It's not often that a player of the opposing fan base comes into a stream after a move like this, of this magnitude, and says something like that. So I appreciate it. Good luck to you guys. Sucks that you guys had to lose Peyton Watson because, again, I don't think that anybody wanted to in that fan base, but that sucks. But I appreciate it. J-Bone says, okay, can you tell me the full detox, the trade? I'm behind and confused. Sure, I'll pull those back up. First things first, for anybody who may have missed this, whatever, if you were not a part of the stream earlier, if you've not been around your phone, Cleveland, Denver, and Clippers have agreed on a trade sending Peyton Watson to the Cavaliers, Max Strus to LA, and an unprotected 2031 Cavs first-round pick and a 2032 Kings second-rounder to the Nuggets. Watson will sign a new 4-year, $88 million deal to join the Cavaliers, plus a player option and trade kicker. Additionally, as part of that deal, the Cavaliers are sending Trey Mann, the 2027 second-rounder from the Clippers, and cash to the Washington Wizards for Cam Whitmore. Sources said the Wizards are also sending Julian Reese to the Nuggets, who will waive Reese off of his two-way deal. Now, if you're looking at the rest of that tweet, it just says, man, fills a positional need as the Wizards have gained, or rather search for an additional guard in recent weeks, while the Cavaliers gain a smaller salary and Whitmore to create optionality under the first apron. So essentially, out goes Max Strus, out goes a first-round pick, out goes a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. In comes Cam Whitmore and Peyton Watson. That's all we really need to know at this point in time. So you have, forget the picks, for better or worse. Though that was always going to happen. You're going to need to part with the picks. You lost Max. You lost Trey Mann. Never even knew him. And you got Peyton Watson and Cam Whitmore. That's all it breaks down to as of right now. Unless I'm missing something. Dear Moss says, Proctor has the best passing and vision of anyone on the team, not named James Harden. You can definitely make the argument right now for that. I definitely think that people underrate the playmaking talent of Proctor, but I saw a lot from Thomas in the Summer League environment. Granted, the context of that being the Summer League does need to be applied, and Craig is not a bad facilitator at all, though he struggles with decision-making at times. HJ says, hopefully with these moves, Sam doesn't have to play up anymore and doesn't deal with as many injuries. That's true. Let's go Watson, says Believeland fan. Welcome to the land. Thanks, Strus. Good luck in LA. Couldn't said it any better myself, my friend. Glory Myler says, what's underrated about this trade is Peyton Watson is a 3-level scorer who showed that in his Denver run. Yeah, I think that Peyton definitely can, or rather does have the ability to self-create. But again, I feel it necessary to mention this simple statistical fact because I think it's kind of being lost here among the trade details because people are so happy about this. Don't get me wrong, I am too. But Peyton Watson was assisted on roughly 74% of his shots in 2025-26. That was only in the 50th percentile, which is not good. Not bad, but not good either. It's literally middle of the pack in terms of his position group, which is wing. Terms of the self-creation, to be honest with you, I'm not expecting him to come in and do that. It is Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, and likely Evan Mobley who will gain the bulk of those touches. Or garner, rather, the bulk of the touches and the usage. Peyton Watson is probably going to be option number 4, which is fine. He's going to occupy a role similar to what Tyson did last year, similar to what Max has. He's going to be this off-ball outlet who can, at times put the ball on the floor and attack. And he will attack closeouts a lot more than Dean did, a lot more than Tyson did, a lot more than Strus did at times too. Though I think people underrate Strus in that category too. But I'm down with it, man. He has shown that he has the ability, but it has to translate for the entirety of a season and essentially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, truly. NL Woodson says, are the Cavs done, or is there still another Bruce Brown, LeVert, DeRozan option? They're going to be at 14 if they don't make any other moves after signing James Harden. Maybe we see another thing happen. Maybe they fill that 15th spot. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think that you really have to sit back at this point in time, if you're the Cavs, and evaluate whether or not you think that the roster that is presently constructed is good enough for a title run. I think you can argue that they might be, but I think you can also argue that depth is never a bad thing. You really, we know that better than anybody, right? It's a good move. It's a good move. Misty 4779 says, I'm glad we didn't lose anyone major this offseason. Agreed. King Meep says, with the addition of Cam, does that mean Tomlin is out of the rotation? Go Cavs? Not necessarily. It's not like Cam Whitmore had been balling out for his teams, right? He also is not a noted floor spacer himself. He is better, obviously, than Tomlin in that regard, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that Tomlin is chopped liver, because Whitmore was not great in his minutes with Washington at the power forward position last season. But it was just a 21-game sample size that must be applied. That is context that is relevant. Again, when he played the 4, which was 74% of the time in Washington, teams had a negative net rating of 18.9. Negative 18.9. That is awful. And that is not all on him. That's a team thing mostly, but he does factor in there. That's relevant. 5th percentile. Horrid. Let's take a look at Naquan Tomlin before we get out of here, shall we? Positionally, Tomlin, 75% of his minutes at the 4. 57th percentile in terms of net rating, plus 1.3. He was in the 86th percentile, or the Cavs rather, had a point differential of plus 10.7 in his minutes at the 3, which was in the 86th percentile. The problem with that is that the offense cratered. The rating was 111.8, which is in the 31st percentile, but 99th percentile defensively. Would you believe that in Naquan Tomlin's minutes at the 3, the team had a defensive rating of 101.1? That is phenomenal. Small sample size, right? Just 24% of his minutes there. On a 911 minutes he played in 2025-26. 24% of that came at the 3. The team had a 101.1 defensive rating, which is, again, 99th percentile. That's phenomenal, but he's not a 3. He's a 4. He can play 3. I would have had the same conversation with Kuminga had he been acquired. He can play the 3, but he's a 4 historically. HJ17 Gaming says, yeah, Tomlin got to develop that jumper ASAP. That's the only thing holding him back, man. Like, we take a look at the other, like, big time stats for Tomlin that we are looking at for guys like Peyton Watson and Jonathan Kuminga. Naquan Tomlin, let's put things into perspective. He was in the 90th percentile in block percentage too. We talk about Peyton being in the 99th percentile among his position group. Naquan Tomlin was in the 90th percentile in his position group at 1.6%. I'm saying that like they're not in the same position group. They are. They're both considered. Well, actually, no. They classify Peyton as a wing. They classify Naquan as a forward. And I think that's accurate. 90th percentile in that category. In the offensive rebounding category, though, this is where he shines at. This is where you see a lot of those putbacks, a lot of those tip dunks, a lot of those. There was this one dunk he had this season. I'm sure you guys remember this because I got a whole highlight reel of dunks that Tomlin has put together last season. But he missed a triple. I think it was like off the backboard or some shit like that. He gets his own rebound and he throws it down. It's that type of stuff that like the electric plays, the offensive rebounding. Again, 98th percentile there, 8.6% offensive rebounding rate. That's type of stuff that can be impactful. But if he's not, if he is not knocking down shots, I don't know what else to tell you. He will not. J Bone says, "Am I blocked or something?" No, you should be blocked. I thought I responded to your comment. D Jackson says, "You know what's crazy? Strus and Garland is now in LA together." Yeah, I think I pointed to that earlier. J Bone says 10 joules hiding. Yeah, I don't know what that means. You're not banned. I don't know. Maybe it is possible. It is possible that you are blocked on the YouTube side, man. And if that is the case, I'm not sure what you would have done to have done that, but I don't know if it's justified or not. So I don't know. I truly don't know. Rahimi says Watson, Mobley, Allen, Harden, Mitchell, Tyson, Mario, Merrill, Jonas Fee. No, I'm good on Jonas, to be honest with you. You got Thomas Bryant. There, to me, like, yeah, depth is not a bad thing, but if I'm going to spend that depth, I don't think I'm spending it at center, to be honest. I think I would much rather get another four, like another true four, because if Mario doesn't work out, if Tomlin doesn't work out, you don't really have too many options behind them. Thomas is not playing the four. He's primarily a center. I'd rather sign a four. Maybe DFS becomes available. Maybe you can get him. We'll see. HJ says Tomlin shot 43% in summer league. Yeah, but again, and so I think I talked about this with somebody else rather recently too. He shot a great percentage, but I think it's also important to put into context the totals because he didn't shoot a lot of threes. He didn't appear more than a handful of times, but in summer league play this past season for the Cavaliers, just 2 games, he only took 7 triples. So I don't put a lot of stock in that. He knocked down 3. He was 3 of 7. That's not enough for me to that's not enough for me to feel confident, but I want to hope. I want to believe. I want to believe. Well, if Lifespo says, let's thank OKC because Danny Cunningham made a good point. Denver having to match Spencer Jones offer sheet from OKC a couple months ago put Denver in a bad position. And speaking, yeah, shout out to Danny, Locked on Cavs. Spencer Jones, by the way, had a very informative tweet the other day. I'm sure you guys talked about it. You probably saw it, but Spencer Jones talked about that, the decisions that kind of led him to where he is right now. And, and signing that new contract, which Denver, obviously, there are implications that are being felt now because of that occurring. But if you look at the Spencer Jones thing, that is definitely a good point in reference to what kind of got them here. So good shout by Danny Cunningham for kind of pointing that out. And there's a lot of decisions here that kind of had a trickle down effect in terms of what this is. Again, Spencer Jones recently signed a 2-year, $12 million contract. I'm going to link that tweet because I just think it is in a world where you often see athletes, and this is crazy. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this. I've seen it a lot recently, but I don't know how many athletes that I have seen complain about how how hard it is to keep your finances in check, to how millions of dollar the contracts that they're being given, essentially, how that money it's nothing, right? It's easy to blow through. It's these, and that's why you see so many broke athletes, because they're not being put into positions to make good decisions with their money. They have people around them that probably aren't helping. They got agents in their ear talking about this and that. But in an era where athletes are talking about how how easily that money can be gone, and that's true if you're not making the right decisions. it is nice to see somebody provide a perspective of, what the other side of that looks like if you're a guy that kind of had to fight and scratch and claw and kind of lowballed on certain offers. So check that Spencer Jones tweet out. I'm going to link it. Harry J says, great trade. Now we need another true four in the front court rotation. Again, yes, this is why I would be opposed to getting somebody like Jonas Fee. J-Bone says, what are these bonus jewels that I have? To be quite honest with you, I'm assuming that is like a YouTube thing. I'm like not all the way read in on what that is, to be honest with you. I'll have to probably something to do with membership if you're a YouTube member, but I don't think I've actually laid out all of the membership things for that because I have a lot of that set up on Patreon. Dominic Pilek says, Strus a way better defender than Merrill. Man, that's a tough conversation if we are being honest. Because while Max Strus is a really solid defender, there are certain things that Sam Merrill does better in terms of perimeter defense than that of Max Strus. And again, take this with a grain of salt because it was a 12-game sample size from him in the regular season. But Max Strus was in the 71st percentile in perimeter isolation defense. That's not bad. That's, it's about league average, but he wasn't a great screen navigator. And he was just not really good at navigating off ball or on ball screens. 40th percentile in ball screen navigation and 51st percentile in off ball chaser defense. These are traditionally areas that Sam Merrill thrives in. I don't know how many of you remember, but Sam Merrill, year ago against the Miami Heat, put on basically a screen navigation clinic versus Tyler Herro and company. Let me know in the comments below if you remember that. But he was absolutely hounding Tyler Herro in terms of that screen navigation. 97th percentile in that category this year for him. That's A+. He ranked 20th out of 572 qualifying players in terms of chasing his assignments. 82nd percentile in ball screen navigation, ranking 104th out of 578. So in the top fifth, and he was in the top 100 essentially in that category, while also being 85th percentile in terms of perimeter isolation defense. I don't think that Max Strus is a better defender than Sam Merrill. I think that Sam Merrill is simply smaller and more limited in who he can defend due to that size limitation. I think that people honestly have to put more respect on Sam's name. That's just me. Strus defense is a good point. Losing Dean hurts too there. Definitely nervous about perimeter defense. How's Watson defensively? He's phenomenal defensively. 97th percentile in not only versatility, but in perimeter isolation defense. Phenomenal on-ball defender. Where he needs work is off the ball. Where he needs work is team defense. He is prone to lapses at times. And again, it's a small sample size. This is not necessarily a player that we have a large amount of a film indicating that he is some lockdown defender. He was phenomenal in his time this year on the ball, though. 97th percentile there. Ranked 18th out of 582 players in that category. Phenomenal defender of navigator of screens. 92nd percentile in off-ball screen. 86th percentile in on-ball screens. Wasn't necessarily the best pickpocket or didn't grade well in the passing lanes, but I think that's a little, to be honest with you, kind of bullshit in that regard. If you watch the film for that specifically, he was somebody that could muck things up in the passing lanes. Truly. Harry J says, I completely forgot about Hazonia. Yeah. The offseason so far is, picked up Malik Thomas. Not enough people are talking about Ernest Udeh Jr. I don't think I've seen anybody mention him. I think the two-way signings have meant something over these last couple of seasons because typically these guys have been converted into standardized deals and have outright turned into rotation players. Happened for Dean Wade, happened for Lamar Stevens, happened for Craig Porter Jr., happened for Naquan Tomlin. It is possible that one of these two ways can be turned into something, but we'll see. I think that Ernest Udeh Jr., Malik Thomas, those two guys, if given run in year one, could potentially play a small role, maybe as a 10th or 11th man and maybe 12th, right? But on a championship contender, that's probably not happening. Truly. Gifted Hoop says, happy for you, bro. What a move. What's up, man? Nice to see you join the stream. We need to catch up. I know you've been reaching out. So we definitely gotta hop on a stream together. Appreciate it. That's a great move. T. Bryson says, how much better do you believe this trade has made the Cavaliers? Man, on paper, in theory, it makes them, I don't want to say a lot better because Strus is a big loss. But adding the size, adding the athleticism, adding the versatility defensively, that makes them better. It makes them better. That's for sure. They're better equipped to handle some of the teams that they'll be facing in a gauntlet of an East now, right? LeBron, Jaylen Brown with Philly, Giannis in Miami now to pair with Bam. Spacing fits there going to be a little bit weird. Tyrese Halliburton finally healthy, joining forces once more with Pascal Siakam, bringing Ivica Zubac to Indiana. That's going to be a tough team. New York obviously is the champion that they are. Boston isn't going anywhere despite trading Jaylen Brown. They'll still be a playoff team. Orlando will be right there. Washington is going to be a better team than people are giving credit for. This is so this Eastern Conference is going to be somewhat of a gauntlet. Gifted Hoop says seeding the East is a nightmare, man. It truly is. Like, I don't really know who the top 6 seeds are going to be. I don't know who the play-in teams are going to be. I can guarantee you that it's going to take a lot of wins to earn a top 4 seed, top 6 seed in the East this year. I 100% believe that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be in that top 6, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure where they are. I think they'll be a top 4 seed. I'll go that high, but that's not a given. And I think that Peyton Watson elevates them in such a way that some of the flaws will now be covered up even more, because obviously we know some of what the flaws have been in the backcourt defensively. Adding Peyton Watson's defensive versatility and size and athleticism to the fray there, to combine that with a defensive player of the year level defender in Evan Mobley and a very good defender in Jarrett Allen, that's big time. I love it, man. Trey Live says, we will have the number 1 seed. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I don't think so. And to be honest with you, I don't think they will get the 1 seed. But to be honest with you, even more honest, I don't care. I want a championship. I want a finals appearance at the very least. I can't, the seeding to me doesn't matter anymore. The regular season success doesn't matter to me. You need to have a level of success in the regular season, mind you. Like, you need to have that. You want to be a top 4 seed. But I don't need to be the 1 seed. I don't need them to chase it either. I don't need it. HJ says, all I'm hearing is next season is going to be fun as fuck as a Cavs fan to watch. I agree. D-Style says, Harden with a full year. Now they have a legit wing. Kobe has been getting roasted, but he pulled off this with limited assets. Give my boy Kobe Allman some credit. But yes, shout out to James Harden. I talked about this earlier on in the stream. Got to give him credit. Say what you want about James Harden. Never say he won't sacrifice, though. He sat back, did not sign the contract extension that these two teams have clearly been, or these two parties have clearly been working on, and allowed them the flexibility to accomplish something like this. It wasn't just James Harden. They had to move Schroeder. They had to get rid of Strus. But you see what I'm saying. That does not happen if the domino of James Harden waiting out the contract extension does not occur. So props to Harden. Shout out to him. Joni Mack says, trade Jarrett Allen for Duren and 2 second-round picks. No, thank you. You just watched Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen outplay Jalen Duren thoroughly, and you want to trade Jalen for Jalen Duren? No, thank you. No, thank you. Phoenix says, how many trees will Mad Max you thought you lost me for a second. You thought you lost me for a second. I clicked back. How many trees will Mad Max plant for the Clippers? We'll see. Gifted Hoop says, I've already been saying it, but it's even more of a fact now. The East is the best conference in the NBA. I agree. There were years where I could not agree with this at all, but the East it's going to be a gauntlet this season, man. I don't know how anybody could watch this offseason and not come to that conclusion. So I agree. Vincent Robinson says James Harden wanted the Cavs to improve. He absolutely did. Paul Williams says, bro, it's Paul from Cavs Daily. We need to connect. Great video as always. Appreciate you. Yeah, man. Shoot me an email again. Kobe Bree says, we're not praising Kobe. He has depleted all our picks. Dude. Again, and I hate to take a serious tone here. The picks at this point are helpful, yes. But they now have this wing that they have been screaming for 3,000 years. And you can tell me with a straight face that you're worried about them picks right now. A core of James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Peyton Watson, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen is about as good as you can ask for. As HJ17 Gaming says in this, fuck them picks. Wholeheartedly. It's do or die. No more of this 2-timeline bullshit. They put their they put their money where their mouth is, right? Right? All I know is that if you want to play the game, sometimes you got to pay the price. Pay the cost to be the boss. You get what I'm trying to say. D-Style says, throw them picks in a barrel of dog shit. J Life says, Jalen Duren got whipped by Allen. Exactly. Paul Williams says, late lottery picks. Appreciate what we have right now. Exactly. Like, how can we cry about not having a wing that we truly believe in? And then the second that we get him, the picks are what we are worried about? No, man. Come on. Kobe Allman does deserve some credit for accomplishing this without sacrificing the young talent. Like, if you're a fan of Max Strus, I get that. I'm a fan of Max Strus. I am. But this was necessary, truly. Andy U says, so how is Peyton Watson better than DeAndre Hunter? Didn't we have that experiment and then got nothing really for him? He is the same size, body build. No, not really. You got to watch some film. Honestly, if you're not familiar with Peyton Watson and the playmaking ability that he has on the defensive side of the basketball combined with the shot making on the opposite end of the floor, this man shot 47% on catch and shoot triples this season for Denver. That's absurd. Shot above 40% overall from three-point distance. Ungodly efficient in terms of the catch and shoot for him, while being in the 99th percentile in block rate, while being in the 97th percentile in isolation defense. Much, much, much better defender on the ball. Much, much, much more efficient shooter. But the gamble is real. Small sample size. But again, you really couldn't ask for anything more. You really couldn't. This is the prototype that they have been clamoring for. And essentially, DeAndre Hunter and Peyton Watson are two completely different types of players. DeAndre Hunter was much more of a self-creator, especially from the mid-range, than Peyton Watson currently is. There's difference. There's more than that. But again, like, just to give you kind of a top-down overview, they're completely different types of players. Gift to Hoop says, you finally have a legit wing and we in chat crying about picks and Max Strus. That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man. Come on, guys. Get your head in the game. Listen, funny story. I don't know how many people saw this tweet the other day, but this shit cracked me up so much. Yo, my daughters are funny as shit without even knowing it. If you're a parent, you understand exactly what I'm about to say. Your kids, they will say the most rude or sometimes just the most petty or just the most hilarious shit without even knowing it. My daughter, like, I'm in a car ride with her, kind of related, kind of unrelated, says, Dad, if you didn't fix computers for a living, what would you do? And I said, I don't know, probably talk about sports. You know, I played sports. I love sports. I would probably commentate on sports if I didn't fix computers, if I wasn't into the realm of IT, right? She says to me, and I quote, Dad, if you want to talk about sports, you got to get your head in the game. You guys need to get your head in the game. This ain't about picks. Like, no disrespect to Max Strus. Again, I like Max Strus a lot. I will forever appreciate his contributions. But, bro, you can't, we can't sit up here and whine about wanting the wing, but not pay the price for the wing. And we kept Jalen Tice. D-Style says, and we kept Jalen Tyson. That's big. It truly is. J47 says, Harden is a legend. Tyler Bell says, Cap's already on this title window with Harden move. This supplement confirms that we need a 3-and-D wing now, not in 2031. Exactly. Fuck them pigs. If Flex Spoke says, I laugh when I see accounts on Twitter on team. They are rivals or hating more. That is how they determine who fleeced or won, just to hate. D-Style says, facts, Mac. Dominic says, if you had to rank out the East, how you stack him? Damn, that's a hard one, man. It truly is. Like Gifted Hoop says, right? The East is going to be really hard to seed this year. But if you put me on the spot, I put the New York Knicks still at number one. Sue me. They're the champion. I don't think they're going to repeat. There hasn't been a repeat champion in 8 seasons. The last team to do it was Golden State Warriors. We have seen literally 8 different champions since then. It feels like parity has been forced upon us by the CBA, and championship windows are really small now because it forces you to kind of adjust and cut along the margins, trim the proverbial fat, if you will, far too often. And it's happened to every champion over the last couple of seasons. I think I talked about that earlier in the stream, but you get what I'm saying. The New York Knicks, number one. Number two, that's where things get difficult, because I think that if Philly coalesces, just no given. Braun and Jaylen Brown, adding that into the fray alongside Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe and company, that's not going to just all of a sudden work. It's going to take some time. So I don't think I can put Philly at 2. I honestly, during the regular season, I see a world in which the Cavaliers can be the number 2 seed. But if you put me on the record right now, if I have to lay it out, I guess New York, Cleveland, Philly. Probably would have Boston at probably the 4 seed. And at seed 5, I got Miami. I think Toronto is a good 6 seed. But again, Atlanta is a team that is really hard to figure right now, too, because Jalen Johnson and company, after what they have added in Lou Dort and getting Aaron Wiggins, like that has flaws, too. And it's not like I don't know what happens with Jonathan Kuminga, but Atlanta is a hard team to peg down right now. It is really hard, man. It is hard to figure out what the East is going to look like. And I think I mentioned the Wizards earlier too. Like there's so many different teams that can finish as a playoff team, but damn, it is hard. It is truly hard to try and point that out. But I think New York, Cleveland, Philly, number 3, Boston, number 4, Miami, number 5, Toronto, I'm gonna flip-flop that. Atlanta, number 6, Toronto, number 7, and then the 8 seed. I really don't know. Like, and I know a lot of people are sleeping on the Wizards. I think I don't know what happens with Charlotte this year after moving on from LaMelo. By the way, I'm really curious to see that fit. Like, no more Julius Randle in Minnesota, but you get LaMelo, you get Ant-Man, you still got Rudy Gobert, right? That's going to be a really interesting fit. And, Detroit is in there. I'm not going to lie, I did forget Detroit for a second. Detroit is in there too after being the number 1 seed this past season. Like, this is really hard to peg down. Like, this is tough. This is tough. And there are more teams in that Eastern Conference bracket that I really don't know, like, what to do. It really could be a tough gauntlet of an Eastern Conference playoff run for any of these teams. And again, I said Cleveland at number 2. That's nowhere near close to a given. I feel bad for leaving Detroit off though, because I totally forgot about Detroit. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like they've had a great offseason. Jalen Duren still looms large. Not like they got a whole bunch of creation. They did draft, the rook out of Alabama, I believe. Not really a great offseason for them in particular, but I don't know. Maybe they get a little bit better. We'll see. We'll see. J47 says Detroit took a noticeable step back this offseason. Detroit is interesting to me because they can't sneak up people anymore, and I do like their move for Isaiah Joe. That does need to be mentioned. But not having a second guy next to Cade is still the issue. Tobias loss is underrated. Yeah, losing Tobias Harris, I think that's gonna hurt a lot more because Cade's usage rate was already like tremendous. I mean, Cade 34.4% usage rate for the Detroit Pistons this season. That's crazy. That is crazy. When you look at the playoffs, 34.2% for them in their 14 appearances this past season and postseason. So 34.4% in the regular season, 34.2% during the playoffs. That's crazy. But I don't know. We'll see. But we've been in here for damn near 2 hours, guys. I appreciate you for hopping on the stream with me, as always. I'm glad that we finally can sleep knowing that the Cavaliers got what they needed. It came at a cost, and that was always going to be tough to watch play out, but they finally got the job done. And I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Do me a favor. Fuck, I didn't even know. I didn't mention Indy. Golly, like I forgot. Like, listen, that should tell you how deep the East is. I didn't even mention the Pacers. I basically forgot Detroit. Like, there are so many teams in the East that you forget how many could make the playoffs. But again, if you're still here by chance, like the video, hype the video, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You want to support the show in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon or YouTube. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. But even if you don't, your boy will still be here creating the content because I love this team and I know you guys do too. Go Cavs.